Here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 2022. I can't even believe I'm saying that. And welcome to season 3 of our morning book buzz. We cannot believe that this will be our 3rd season. It's such an honor. We've missed all of you since I think it's been November or something of last year that we've gotten to do this. So we are so thrilled to be back today. We, of course, have an incredible lineup of titles and lots of great information to share with you today. We will let you know that we will introduce ourselves on the next slide, but I wanted to let you know that one of our, Rachel, who is one of our hosts this morning, is, of course, with the new year comes a new slew of technical issues. She wants you all to know she put on mascara for nothing because her video is not working, but she's on the phone and I'll let her introduce herself. But I'm Kelly Coyle Crivelli from Penguin Random House Library Marketing. And like I said, we are so thrilled to be back with you today. Rachel, you can go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry I can't be here. I can't be visible for you, but I am here and I am excited to talk about these great books we've got to present to you today. But I'm Rachel Mann, and I'm a marketing coordinator here at Penguin Random House Library Marketing.
Yes, and I'm Miriam Tuliao. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see you here.
Just a quick reminder of what our formats mean. You'll see on each slide all of the formats that the books are available in, and if you need to refer back to this slide, you will be able to see what their availability is. And also, we would encourage you to follow us on hashtag PRH Morning Buzz on Twitter and let us know what you've been reading, what you're thinking, and just to know that you're there. And okay, so of course we couldn't let it go that a librarian was the new Jeopardy champion. So we want to give a shout out to our Chicago Ridge Public Librarian that won at Jeopardy. And we wanted to give you a Jeopardy question to start off 2022 because that's just how we are. And side note, Jen Rubens on our team is literally obsessed with Jeopardy. So we promised her we would do this for her. And we have a question, or should we say an answer for you? These were the most checked out PRH ebook and audio and e-audio of 2021. And if you could tell us your guesses on Twitter, we would love to see what you think. And we also would just, even if you don't have a guess of what our most checked out book is, we'd love to know what your favorite book was of 2021. And because now we have a whole new year of reading ready for you.
Okay, if we're on to our ALA Award winners. So as you may have seen, we had a great showing at this year's ALA Awards. We're so proud of all of our amazing authors. It's a fantastic list of books. So please do check out the winners at the link to our blog below. And next slide, please. Okay, and so we also had an amazing showing at the Odyssey Awards. The American Library Association's Odyssey Award Committee has named 2 listening library titles as 2022 Odyssey Honors, which is very exciting. Recognizing excellence in children's and young adult audiobooks, Perfectly Parvin by Olivia Abtahi, narrated by Mitra Johari, and Emmanuel's Dream, The True Story of Emmanuel Ahusu Yeboah by Lori Ann Thompson, read by Adjua Ando, and who you may recognize from recent smash hits such as The Witcher and Bridgerton. Very exciting. Next slide, please. And be sure to check out our other ALA Award winners in all formats, including audio. There are incredible productions of the Newbery Honor, Prince Honors, Coretta Scott King Award winners, and not to mention the ALSC Notable Children's Recording List, and many more. So please head on over to booksontake.com to listen to clips and build your listening library for kids and teens.
And we hope you'll join us next Thursday for the season premiere of Library Lunch and Learn with special guest speakers Victor Simmons Jr. of Fulton County Library System's Auburn Avenue Research Library on African American Culture and History, and the New York Times bestselling author Daniel Pink, who will be discussing his new book, The Power of Regret. We're thrilled to partner with Publishers Weekly and the University of South Carolina's Augusta Baker Endowed Chair to co-host AAPI Communities in Conversation, a year-long event series dedicated to celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander voices. Guest authors and creators include Naomi Hirahara, Gina Apostol, Melinda Lowe, Sheldon Simeon, and James Yang. Please check out the full lineup of librarian-moderated events and join us.
We're so excited to talk to you about our third book and author festival that we do in partnership with Library Journal and School Library Journal. I'm sure most of you attended or heard about our one that we did last April. We did another one in December, and we are thrilled that we will be doing another spring festival on April 7th. I will say that the one positive that's come from the last couple of years is how many of these wonderful programs we've been able to put together. And going back to the one Miriam was just talking about for AAPI, it's been really fun to reach a whole different community and get more authors involved in these free virtual events. So we hope you will join us on April 7th for our next festival, and we promise you another action-packed day of lots of authors and lots of great panels and content.
And throughout Black History Month, we'll be sharing curated collections of titles that celebrate and honor Black lives and experiences. Here's one from our blogs, and we'll be doing it through our e-newsletters as well. And starting with civil rights, we're starting with Civil Rights Queen, a biography that Dr. Ibram Kendi praises as seminal and magisterial. Born to a working-class family during the Great Depression, Constance Baker Motley was expected to make a career as a hairdresser. Instead, she earned a law degree and used it to transform American society. For many years, the only female member of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund's legal team, Motley helped litigate Brown versus Board of Education, defended Martin Luther King Jr. in Birmingham, and played a critical role in vanquishing Jim Crow laws in the South. Motley broke political barriers by becoming the first woman elected Manhattan Borough President in New York City, then the first Black woman elected to the New York State Senate, and later the first Black woman appointed to the federal judiciary. Tomiko Brown Nagin, the author of this inspiring biography, is a respected scholar and historian, the dean of the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study, as well as a constitutional law and history professor at Harvard University. Her previous book, Courage to Dissent, won the Bancroft Prize in 2011. Next is Recitatif, an arresting short story about race and relationships by the legendary Toni Morrison. Twyla and Roberta have known each other since they were 8 years old and spent 4 months together as roommates in the St. Bonaventure shelter. Inseparable at the time, they lose touch as they grow older, only to find each other later at a diner, then at a grocery store, and again at a protest. Seemingly at opposite ends of every problem and in disagreement each time they meet, the two women still cannot deny the deep bond of their shared experience. Written in 1980 and anthologized in numerous collections, this is the first time that Recitatif is being published as a standalone hardcover with an introduction by Zadie Smith.
Next up from me is Shine Bright, a very personal history of Black women in pop. According to Oprah Daily, Essence, and Electric Lit, this is one of the most anticipated books of 2022. A weave of biography, criticism, and memoir, Shine Bright is Daniel Smith's intimate history of Black women's music as the foundational story of American pop. Smith has been writing this history for more than 5 years. but as a music fan and then an essayist, editor at Vibe and Billboard, and a podcast host of Black Girl Songbook, she has been living this history since she was a latchkey kid listening to Midnight Train to Georgia on the family stereo. Smith's detailed narrative begins with Phyllis Wheatley, an enslaved woman who sang her poems, and continues through the stories of Mahalia Jackson, Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, and Mariah Carey, as well as the under-considered careers of Marilyn McCoo, Denise Williams, and Jody Watley. Shine Bright is an overdue paean to musical masters whose true stories and genius have been hidden in plain sight, and this is the book that Daniel Smith was born to write. We're very excited about this book. Next up is another celebratory, wonderful collection of stories, and it's called Lift Every Voice. And this is an incredible book, and I hope you all will get this for your collections. It's more than 50 elders share their remarkable experiences of being Black in America in a collection of powerful photographs and interviews. For so long, too many stories that reveal what it means to be Black in America have been overlooked outside the Black communities. After these long years of racial reckonings and awakenings, Lift Every Voice presents interviews with the oldest generation of Black Americans about their lives, their experiences, and the wisdom that can carry all of us to a better future. The 50 fascinating individuals include civil rights activists, hometown heroes, celebrities, and many others. Two examples of what you'll find in this book is stories about Fred Gray, 89-year-old civil rights lawyer who represented Rosa Parks and battled segregation throughout his life. Clarice Friedman, 100 years old, educator and community leader in Houston, Texas, who speaks about how to live a long and fulfilling life. And just one other, Patti LaBelle, 77 years old, singer-songwriter, who I'm sure you all know, who shares her thoughts on aging and her career as an internationally celebrated powerhouse. It has a foreword by Oprah Winfrey, and we're so excited for this book. It's beautiful. Rachel?
Okay, next up we have We Refuse to Forget, a true story of Black Creek's American identity and power by Caleb Gale. It's a landmark work of Black and Native American history that reconfigures our understanding of identity, race, and belonging, and the inspiring ways marginalized people have pushed to redefine their world. In this paradigm-shattering work of American history, Caleb Gale tells the extraordinary story of the Creek Nation, a Native tribe that 2 centuries ago both owned slaves and accepted Black people as full members. Thanks to the leadership of a chief named Cal Tom, a former Black slave, a treaty with the U.S. government recognized Creek citizenship for its Black members. Yet this equality was shredded in the 1970s when Creek leadership canceled its citizenship to Black Creeks, even those who can trace their tribal history back generations. Why did this happen? What led to this reversal? And how was the U.S. government involved? And how can marginalized people today defend themselves? These are some of the questions that award-winning journalist Caleb Gale explores. Gale is a fellow at the New America Foundation, a PEN America Fellow, and a winner of the Matthew Power Literary Reporting Award. His writing has appeared in the New York Times Magazine, The Atlantic, The Guardian, and many other publications. And it's great for readers of American history, Black history, and Native history, as well as books by Isabel Wilkerson and Henry Louis Gates. And next we have A Way Out of No Way, a memoir of truth, transformation, and the new American story by Raphael G. Warnock. Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock occupies a singular place in American life. As senior pastor of Atlanta's Ebenezer Baptist Church and now as a senator from Georgia, he is a rare voice who can at once call out the uncomfortable truth that shaped contemporary American life and, at a time of division, summon us all to a higher moral ground. Senator Warnock grew up in the Caton Homes housing projects in Savannah, the 11th of 12 children. His dad was a World War II veteran. As a teenager, his mom picked tobacco and cotton in rural Georgia. Both were Pentecostal preachers. After graduating from Morehouse, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s alma mater, Senator Warnock studied for a decade at Union Theological Seminary while serving at Harlem's Episcopalian Baptist Church. and at just 35, he became the senior pastor at Ebenezer, where Dr. King preached and served. In January, Senator Warnock won a runoff election that flipped control of the Senate at one of the most pivotal moments in recent American history. He is the first Black senator from Georgia, only the 11th Black senator in American history, and just the second from the South since Reconstruction. This is a memoir filled with really gorgeous writing and influences from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to Stacey Abrams. It's a perfect read for anybody who enjoyed A Promised Land.
All right. So I basically stole this slide from my other panelists because I love talking about these kinds of books. And I will say during, I will say during the pandemic, but always, these have always been my guilty pleasure or not so guilty pleasure. So I'm so excited to talk to you Valentine's month about some really fun new romances that we have, with each plot being more and more dramatic than the next. So I'm very excited. So first up, we'll talk about Business Not as Usual, a lesson in mixing business with pleasure and seeing if that is a good idea or a bad idea. I am beautiful, I am confident, I am lovable, I am a lottery winner. This is the mantra that will get Dreamy Daniels through each day until she makes it big. So what if she lives in a seedy part of Los Angeles in a house that's one earthquake away from crumbling? All Dreamy needs to do is win the lottery. Who doesn't? Which she's been entering in as a weekly tradition with her grandfather. When she catches the attention of her boss's potential investor, Dreamy has to remind herself to focus on her career goals so she can be her own boss. Who cares if he has the social grace of the Duke of Sussex and the suaveness of Idris Elba? No distractions allowed. Growing up with a father who is an A-list actor and socialite mother, venture capitalist Carter Redford lives in the world of the rich and the famous. Instead of attending movie premieres, however, he does prefer spending time helping the less fortunate. Carter is used to his life revolving around work, but when he decides he wants someone to share it with, he falls for someone his mother would definitely not approve of. Hilarious, quirky, dreamy, who has goals of her own, but also isn't a wealthy upper-crust socialite. Though it's clear they're from different worlds, their relationship might just be his greatest investment yet. The cheat sheet. This is a fun one. Is it ever too late to leave the friend zone? Discover the heartwarming friends to lovers romance that became a sensation on TikTok. Now with a new chapter and a Q&A with the author. The friend zone is not the end zone for Bree Camden, who is helplessly in love with her longtime best friend, an extremely good-looking NFL legend, Nathan Donaldson. The only problem is that she can't admit her true feelings because he clearly sees her as a best friend with no romantic potential. And the last thing she wants to do is ruin their relationship. But those abs. Nope, nothing but good old-fashioned platonic friendship for Bree. In any case, she has other things to worry about. After a car accident ends her chance at becoming a professional ballerina, Bree changed paths and now owns a ballet studio with big dreams to expand. But with one more rent increase, she could be out of business entirely. Then, as usual, Nathan comes to the rescue and buys the entire building. A stubborn Bree is not happy about it and decides to rebel with a couple, okay, maybe more than a couple of shots of tequila. Then her plan backfires as she spills her deepest, darkest secrets to a TMZ reporter. One viral video later, the world thinks Nathan and Bree are the perfect couple. Before they can really talk about her confession, Nathan's publicist proposes a big opportunity that could mean financial security for Bree. The catch? They have to pretend to be in love for 3 whole weeks. What will happen when Bree gives into the feelings she's been desperately hiding for so long? And could she be imagining that Nathan is actually enjoying it? Sarah Adams scores more than touchdowns in this exciting romantic comedy. I mean, who does not want to read that book? Next up is The Murder of Mr. Wickham, which brings a very twisty plot with some good old-fashioned Regency romance interspersed in all of the pages. A summer house party turns into a thrilling whodunit when Mr. Wickham, one of literature's most notorious villains, meets a sudden and suspicious end in this brilliantly imagined mystery featuring Jane Austen's leading literary characters. The happily married Mr. Knightley and Emma are throwing a house party, bringing together distant relatives and new acquaintances, characters beloved by Jane Austen fans throughout the ages. Definitely not invited is Mr. Wickham, whose latest financial scheme has netted him an even broader array of enemies. As tempers flare and secrets are revealed, it's clear that everyone would be happier if Mr. Wickham got his comeuppance. However, they are all shocked when Mr. Wickham turns up murdered, except, of course, for the killer hidden in their midst. Nearly everyone at the party is a suspect, so it falls to the party's two youngest guests to solve the mystery. Juliet Tinley, the smart and resourceful daughter of Catherine and Henry, eager for adventure beyond Northanger Abbey, and Jonathan Darcy, the Darcy's eldest son, whose adherence to propriety makes his father even seem relaxed. This is a fun Jane Austen retelling with just enough murder, just enough romance, and just enough suspicion that you're going to absolutely love it. This checks literally every one of my boxes. Okay, next up, I think we should stop the book buzz and just talk about this book for the rest of the time. Picture it, Blizzard 2022. I sat on my couch on Saturday morning, and thanks to one of my wonderful colleagues, I said, I'm not going to get up until I finish the new Emily Henry book called Book Lovers, which we were talking before. How has there not been a book called Book Lovers? Or maybe there has, but not that we know of. This book is so wonderful. It's Emily Henry at her best. I loved her first two books, but to be honest with you, this one is just out of the park. So we could talk about it all day, but I'll be quick. One summer, two rivals, and a plot twist they didn't see coming. This takes your Hallmark movie and throws it into this weird spiral, which you're just going to absolutely love. Nora Stevens' life is books. She's read them all, and she's not that type of heroine. Not the plucky one, not the laid-back dream girl, and especially not the sweetheart. In fact, the only people Nora is a heroine for are her clients, for whom she lands enormous deals as a cutthroat literary agent and her beloved little sister, Libby. Which is why she agrees to go to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina for the month of August, when Libby begs her for a sister's trip away. With visions of a small town transformation for Nora, who she's convinced needs to become the heroine of her own story. But instead of picnics in meadows or run-ins with a handsome country doctor, Nora keeps bumping into Charlie Lastra, a bookish, brooding editor from back in the city. It would be a meet cute if not for the fact that they've met many times and it's never been cute. If Nora knows she's not an ideal heroine, Charlie knows he's nobody's hero. But as they are thrown together again and again in a series of coincidences no editor worth their salt would allow, what they discover might just unravel the carefully crafted stories they've written about themselves. I promise you, this one is so good and it will take you away from whatever problem you are having that day. Next up is The Lifestyle. The best Emma retelling since Clueless. I love two Jane Austen retellings on one page. What more could you want? This sexy romantic comedy follows Georgina as she dives headfirst into the New York swingers scene in an attempt to save her marriage and meddle in everyone else's. And as a Jane Austen enthusiast and traditionalist, I'm not quite sure how Jane Austen would feel about swinging, but that's beside the point. Georgina Wagman has it all, a great marriage, a great job at a law firm, and great friends. She's living the life she's always wanted, until, that is, she walks in on her husband in a compromising position with a junior associate. Georgina has a moment of crisis, but divorce is not part of her 5-year plan. So she comes up with an idea to save her marriage and recapture the spark. She and Nathan are going to become swingers. Georgina isn't going to embark on this adventure alone, though. Her friends Felix and Nora and their respective partners decide to tag along for the ride. They've got relationship woes of their own that swinging just might fix. Her plan is foolproof until she runs into an ex at college, a college ex at the first party. When they reconnect, Georgina will find herself torn between her head and her heart, with her very happiness hanging in the balance. Full of heart and humor, The Lifestyle is a bold, hilarious new addition to the rom-com canon. And lastly from me, How to Fake It in Hollywood. A talented Hollywood starlet and a reclusive A-lister enter into a fake relationship and discover that their feelings might be more than a PR stunt. Gray Brooks is on a mission to keep her career afloat now that the end of her running career as a TV show unsuccessfully ends. With a life-changing role on the line, she finally desperate enough to agree to her publicist's scheme. Fake a love affair with a disgraced Hollywood heartthrob who needs publicity, but for very different reasons. Ethan Atkins just wants to be left alone between his high-profile divorce, struggles with drinking, and grief over his best friend. Ethan has slowly let himself fade into the background. But if he ever wants to produce the last movie he and his partner wrote together, Ethan needs a little help in the publicity department. A gossip-inducing affair with a gorgeous actress might just be the ticket. Though their juicy public relationship is less than perfect behind the scenes, it doesn't take long before Greg and Ethan's sizzling chemistry starts to feel like more than just an act. But after decades in a ruthless industry that requires bulletproof emotional armor to survive, are they too used to faking it to open themselves up to the real thing? We promise all these books will be a perfect delight for your romance readers and your book clubs alike. Those were fun to talk about. I'm not going to lie. All right, so what's in it for you? I am going to put a link in the chat where you can all fill out a Google Doc and enter to win a chance with a blind date of your own with a book. You'll have to trust us that we're going to send you something fun, and we will put this in the chat now. And we'll also, of course, as always, you can email us for it if you don't get it here. But we're celebrating the month of love with some bookish funds for our live attendees. So if you're on live today, you are what am I trying to say? You're winners already. So check the chat and you can enter to win one of our fun romance books that we just talked about. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you.
And now we turn our attention to some big nonfiction reads that are coming out this spring. The Palace Papers by Tina Brown, the award-winning writer, former editor-in-chief of The New Yorker, and founder of the Daily Beast. Picking up where the Diana Chronicles left off, the Palace Papers reveals how the royal family reinvented itself after the traumatic years when Princess Diana's blazing celebrity ripped through the House of Windsor like a comet. Tina Brown takes readers on a tour de force journey that shows the Queen's stoic resolve as she coped with the passing of Princess Margaret, the Queen Mother, and her partner, Prince Philip. Brown explores Prince Charles's determination to make Camilla his queen, the tension between two princes on different paths, the ascendance of Kate Middleton, the disturbing allegations surrounding Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, and Harry and Meghan's stunning decision to step back as senior royals. The book's release is timed to lead into the Platinum Jubilee, the 70th anniversary of the Queen's coronation this June. Bad Republican. With the aptly titled Bad Republican, Meghan McCain expresses how it is to feel like you no longer fit in with your political party. In her candid memoir, she tells of growing up the daughter of an American icon who shaped her life and details the heartbreaking final moments spent by his side. McCain recalls her youthful misadventures, shares her views on cancel culture and internet trolls, as well as life backstage as the sole Republican on the daytime talk show, The View. McCain divulges why she's so fired up about women's rights and reveals where she thinks the Republican Party and the country go from here. Leadership. In Leadership, Henry Kissinger, the consummate diplomat and statesman, presents a far-reaching study of 6 leaders in modern history: Konrad Adenauer, Charles de Gaulle, Richard Nixon, Anwar Sadat, Lee Kuan Yew, and Margaret Thatcher. Looking beyond their well-known victories and defeats, Kissinger contextualizes their highly individual strategies of statecraft over the scope of their lives, from their rise to power, to controversies and reversals, to epoch-making decisions and achievements. Kissinger served as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State under Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford, and has advised many other American presidents on international policy. He received the 1973 Nobel Peace Prize, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the Medal of Liberty, among other awards. Next, we have River of the Gods by New York Times bestselling author of River of Doubt and Destiny of the Republic, Candace Millard. For millennia, the location of the Nile River's headwaters was shrouded in mystery. In the 19th century, there was a frenzy of interest in ancient Egypt. At the same time, European powers sent off waves of explorations intended to map the unknown corners of the globe and extend their colonial empires. In Rivers of the Gods, Millard has written another story of courage and adventure, chronicling the African expeditions of Richard Burton and John Hanning Speke, two rivals who were sent by the Royal Geographical Society to claim the prize for England. Millard also tells the little-known story of Sidi Mubarak, Bombay, an enslaved East African who led both expeditions and whose name was obscured by imperial annals. River of the Gods is for readers of Endurance, The Lost City of Z, and The Splendid and the Vile. Next, we have His Name is George Floyd by Robert Samuels and Tolu Oloru Nipa. This landmark biography by two prize-winning Washington Post reporters reveals how systemic racism shaped George Floyd's life and legacy. From his family roots in the tobacco fields of North Carolina to ongoing inequality in housing, education, healthcare, criminal justice, and policing, telling the singular story of how one man's tragic experience brought about a global movement for change. Wesley Lowery, author of They Can't Kill Us All, calls this a monumental work of reporting and storytelling that reveals who George Floyd was in life and the extent to which his death was the result not just of the callous choices of a single police officer, but of 400 years of societal decisions to devalue Black life. And lastly, in Under the Skin, Linda Villarosa lays bare the forces in the American healthcare system and an American society that cause Black people to live sicker and die quicker compared to their white counterparts. Anchored by unforgettable human stories and reams of scientific data on race and discrimination, Under the Skin is an urgent call to action. Linda Villarosa is a journal professor at the City University of New York, a contributing writer at the New York Times Magazine, and a contributor to the 1619 Project. Her article on maternal and infant mortality was a finalist for a National Magazine Award. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. So I just want to quickly point out that we now have our latest debut fiction sampler available for download. We've got some very exciting new authors this spring, so please head on over to Issue at the link on the screen. And just again, in case it hasn't been said, all of these links will be in the wrap-up that we will send to you all, so there's no worry. There's no need to scramble to write everything down during the presentation. But yes, please do download the debut sampler. We've got some truly amazing authors inside it. Okay, and speaking of debuts, I'm going to kick us off with some exciting debut fiction we've got coming out. First up on the list is The Return of Faraz Ali by Amina Ahmad. Sent back to his birthplace, Lahore's notorious red light district, to hush up the murder of a child prostitute, a man finds himself in an unexpected reckoning with his past. Not since childhood has Faraz returned to Mahalla in Lahore's walled inner city, where women still pass down the profession of courtesan to their daughters. But he still remembers the day he was abducted from the home he shared with his mother and sister there, at the direction of his powerful father, who wanted to give him a chance at a respectable life. Now Jeeb, once more dictating his fate from afar, has sent Faraz back to Lahore, installing him as the head of Mahalla police station and charging him with a mission to cover up the violent death of the young Kandari. It should be a simple assignment to carry out in the marginalized community, but for the first time in his career, Faraz finds himself unable to follow orders. As the city assails him with a jumble of memories, he cannot stop asking questions or chasing down the walled city's labyrinthine alleyways for the secrets, his family's and his own, that risk shattering his precariously constructed existence. Profoundly intimate and propulsive, The Return of Faraz Ali is a spellbindingly assured first novel that poses a timeless question. Whom do we choose to protect and at what price? And this is perfect for readers of Yagi. Next up is Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. This is a spellbinding debut novel tracing 3 generations of a Southern Black family and one daughter's discovery that she has the power to change her family's legacy. In the summer of 1995, 10-year-old Joan, her mother, and her younger sister flee her father's violence, seeking refuge at her mother's ancestral home in Memphis. Half a century ago, Joan's grandfather built this majestic house in the historic Black neighborhood of Douglas, only to be lynched days after becoming the first Black detective in Memphis. This wasn't the first time violence altered the course of Joan's family's trajectory, and she knows it won't be the last. Longing to become an artist, Joan pours her rage and grief into sketching portraits of the women of North Memphis, including their enigmatic neighbor, Ms. Dawn, who seems to know something about curses. Unfolding over 70 years through a chorus of voices, Memphis weaves back and forth in time to show how the past and future are forever intertwined. It is only when Joan comes to see herself as a continuation of a long matrilineal tradition, and the women in her family as her guides to healing, that she understands her life does not have to be defined by vengeance, that the sole weapon she needs is her paintbrush. Inspired by the author's own family history, Memphis, the Black fairy tale she always wanted to read, explores the complexity of what we pass down, not only in our families, but in our country. Police brutality and justice, powerlessness and freedom, hate and forgiveness, doubt and faith, sacrifice and love. And next we have The Mutual Friend by Carter Bays. This is an exciting title because it's from the co-creator of the hit show How I Met Your Mother. It's a hilarious and thought-provoking debut novel set in New York City, following a sprawling cast of characters as they navigate life, love, loss, ambition, and spirituality without ever looking up from their phones. It's the summer of 2015 and Alice Quick needs to get to work. She's 28 years old, grieving her mother, barely scraping by as a nanny, and freshly kicked out of her apartment. If she can just get her act together and sign up for the MCAT, she can start chasing her dream of becoming a doctor. But in the age of distraction, the distractions are so distracting. There's her tech millionaire brother's religious awakening, his picture-perfect wife's emotional breakdown, her chaotic new roommate's thirst for adventure, and, of course, there's the biggest distraction of all, love. From within the story of one summer in one woman's life, an epic tale is unearthed, spanning continents and featuring a tapestry of characters tied to one another by threads both seen and unseen. Filled with all the warmth, humor, and heart that gained How I Met Your Mother, its cult following, The Mutual Friend captures in sparkling detail the chaos of contemporary life, a life lived simultaneously in 2 different worlds, the physical one and the one behind our screens, that reveals how connected we all truly are. And next up, we have Grown Up by Marie Aubert, a whip-smart novel about modern motherhood and sibling rivalry from one of Norway's rising stars. This is perfect for fans of Emma Straub and films of Greta Gerwig. Ida is a 40-year-old architect, single and starting to panic. She's navigating Tinder and contemplating freezing her eggs, terrified that time has passed her by silently without her ever realizing it, which feels even more poignant and common in our COVID era. All she sees are other people's children everywhere. Now stuck in the idyllic Norwegian countryside for a gathering to mark her mother's 65th birthday, Ida is regressing. She's fighting with her younger sister, Martha, and flirting with her sister's husband. But when some supposedly wonderful news about Martha heightens her tensions further, Ida is forced to mark out new milestones of her own. And next up, we have The Catch by Alison Fairbrother. A young woman searches for the truth about her father and the secrets of her family in this electric debut novel that author M. Straub says this big-hearted debut absolutely crackles with smarts. 2 years out of college, Ellie Adler has a job in journalism, an older lover, and a circle of smart friends. Her beloved father, James, who has children from 3 marriages, unites the family with his gentle humor and charisma. But Ellie has always believed she is her father's favorite. And when he suddenly dies, she finds herself devastated by unexpected loss. Then, at the reading of his will, she learns that instead of leaving her his prized possession, a baseball that holds emotional resonance for them both, he has left her a seemingly ridiculous, even insulting gift. Worse, he's given the baseball to someone in his family that they've never heard of. In her grief, Ellie wonders who could have possibly meant more to her father than she did. Setting out to track this person down, she learns startling information about who her father really was and who she herself is becoming. Moving, witty, and unforgettable, The Catch is a story of the gifts we're given over the course of a lifetime by family, friends, and strangers. The ones we want, and the ones that catch us unawares. And finally, we have Del Webb's Destiny by Tell Me Abaro, the story of 3 once inseparable college friends in Nigeria who reunite for the first time in 30 years at a lavish wedding in Lagos for one of their daughters. A sparkling debut novel about mothers and daughters, culture and class, sex and love, and the extraordinary resilience of female friendship. Funmi, Enitan, and Zainab are first meet at university in Nigeria and become friends for life despite their differences. Funmi is beautiful, brash, and determined. Enitan is homely and eager, seeking escape from her single mother's smothering and needy love. And Zainab is elegant and reserved, raised by her father's first 2 wives after her mother's death in childbirth. Their friendship is complicated but enduring, and over the course of the novel, the reader learns about their loves and losses. How Funmi stole Zainab's boyfriend and became pregnant only to have an abortion and lose the boyfriend to police violence. How Enitan was seduced by an American Peace Corps volunteer, the only one who ever really saw her, but is culturally so different from him, a Connecticut WASP, that raising their daughter together put them at odds. Zainab fell in love with her teacher, a friend of her father's, and ruptured her relationship with her father to have him. Now, some 30 years later, the 3 women are reunited for the first time in Lagos. The occasion? Funmi's daughter, Destiny, is getting married. Enitan brings her American daughter, Remy. Zainab travels by bus, nervously leaving her ailing husband in the care of their son. Funmi, hosting a weekend of elaborate festivities with her wealthy husband, wants everything to go perfectly. But as the big day approaches, it becomes clear that something is not right. And as the novel builds powerfully toward the big event, the complexities of the mother's friendship and the private wisdom each has earned come to bear on a riveting, heart-rending moment of decision. Del Webb's Destiny is a sensational debut from a dazzling voice in contemporary fiction.
Sorry, I had to mute myself because my dog is snoring very loudly in the background. So we gave you the clue. I know it's terrible. Thanks, Rachel. I think you did a great job, even though we can't see you. Thank you for figuring that out. Some of the consistents of the last couple of years have been my dog snoring, technical problems, and well, great books. So the clue was these were the most checked out PRH ebook and audiobooks of 2021. And the answer is the question is, what are The Midnight Library and A Promised Land? So thank you for tweeting at PRH Morning Buzz. Don't forget to keep sharing what your favorite reads were of 2021. And as you can see, we've given you a whole bunch of new books to start reading in 2022, something for everyone. And as always, it was so fun to see all of you, to talk to all of you. The wrap-up report will be coming where all of this information will be in there, so don't worry if you missed something, and you can register for our next one in March. We will see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Miriam.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rachel.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.